You are holding a spear, and the mammoth is much bigger than your courage. It stands ahead of you like a moving hill, covered in shaggy hair, swinging two curved tusks that could toss a person aside before anyone understood what went wrong. Your spear is wood, stone, sinew, and hope. The mammoth has muscle, memory, panic, and several tons of body behind every step. So no, you do not just charge. If ancient humans wanted a mammoth, the first weapon was not the spear. It was the plan. A group had to decide whether this animal was worth the risk, because one mistake could injure a hunter, scatter the herd, break the best tools, or leave everyone exhausted with nothing to eat. The reward was enormous. One mammoth could mean meat for days or weeks, fat for precious calories, bones for tools and shelters, hide for coverings, and stories that helped the next hunt. But the reward only mattered if enough people survived to carry it home. The hunt begins before the mammoth is even in sight. You follow tracks pressed deep into wet ground. A normal animal leaves marks. A mammoth leaves round pits, scraped bark, snapped branches, and piles of dung that tell the group how recently the herd passed. The best trackers are not guessing. They are reading the landscape like a warning message. Wind matters. If the breeze carries your smell toward the herd, the hunt may end before it starts. Mammoths are not mindless targets. They hear, smell, protect cows, and notice strange movement. A spooked herd can vanish into open ground or thunder straight through the place where you are standing. The group stops far away and studies everything. How many animals are there? Is there a calf? Is one adult old, tired, limping, or separated? Where is the nearest mud, snowdrift, narrow pass, riverbank, or ravine edge? The goal is not to defeat strength with strength. The goal is to make strength less useful. Someone sharpens spear points. Someone checks findings. Others gather extra shafts, stones, and branches. The youngest adults watch and try to look brave. The older hunters do not look brave. They look busy, because busy is what fear becomes when people know what they are doing. The first approach can still fail instantly. A hunter steps on a dry twig. A bird bursts from grass. One mammoth lifts its head, ears spread wide, trunk high. Suddenly, the whole herd tightens together. Dust rises. The hunters freeze, because running too soon tells the animals exactly where the danger is. Then the herd moves. Not like a monster attack, like weather. Heavy feet pound the ground. Spears lower and then hesitate. People dive behind rocks, shrubs, and each other. A young hunter drops a spear and scrambles away with eyes wide enough to become most of his face. The mammoths pass in a wall of bodies and dust. Nobody wins, nobody eats. A good failure is the one that does not end the story. After that, the group changes the plan. They cannot outrun a mammoth across open ground. They cannot stab safely from the front. Tusks cover too much space. The trunk can push, slap, and sense. Even the legs are dangerous, because one panicked step can crush a spear shaft and the person holding it. So the hunters use distance, noise, and terrain. Some people circle wide, staying downwind. Others wait near a muddy flat where the ground grabs at heavy feet. A few carry smoking branches or wave hides from far away, not to fight, but to persuade the herd to move in the wrong direction. This is not a duel. It is a frightening group project. Weather can help or ruin everything. Cold air keeps scent low. Snow records tracks. Mud slows a giant body. But cold also stiffens fingers, hides holes under white crust, and turns a long wait into shaking exhaustion. A spear thrown by a numb hand is not a heroic weapon. It is a complicated stick leaving your control. The group tries to separate one animal from the safest part of the herd. They do not need a perfect choice. They need the least impossible one. An older mammoth at the edge. A tired animal near soft ground. A moment when the herd turns and one body lags behind. Even then, the hunters are gambling with movement they cannot fully control. The drive begins with sound. People shout from a distance. Stones clap against wood. Hides flap. The mammoths bunch, turn, and surge away from the noise. The hunters want pressure, not panic, because a calm turn can be guided, while a full panic becomes a disaster with tusks. For a moment, the plan works. The chosen mammoth steps into soft mud near a river bend. One foot sinks deeper than expected. The animal yanks back, angry and confused. The herd pulls away, leaving a gap. Hunters spread into a half circle, keeping far enough that one sudden swing cannot reach everyone at once. Now the spears matter, but not like a clean movie scene. A heavy spear is hard to aim. A stone point can glance off thick hide. A shaft can snap. Getting close enough to hurt a giant animal means getting close enough for the giant animal to hurt you first. The safest hunter is still too close. One spear flies and sticks shallowly. Another falls short. A third breaks under a stamping foot. The mammoth screams in simple cartoon anger, tossing mud and dust, not blood. Everyone jumps back. One hunter slips, and two others drag him away by the shoulders before the next step lands. That is the real terror. The hunt keeps changing shape. Every second asks a new question. Is the animal trapped or only annoyed? Is the herd coming back? Did the wind shift? Is someone injured? Are the hunters too tired to finish? Should they press harder or retreat before a possible meal becomes a funeral? Ancient hunters needed discipline as much as courage. The group keeps space between bodies. No one crowds the front. People rotate forward because arms tire, legs shake, and fear burns energy. A hunter who cannot breathe steadily cannot throw steadily. A group that loses rhythm becomes just scattered people with sharp sticks. Eventually, the animal weakens in a wide, symbolic scene. There are no close-ups, no gore, and no triumphant pose. Just a huge cartoon mammoth sagging in the mud, dust settling, hunters standing far back with lowered spears, faces shocked instead of proud. The danger does not disappear all at once. Everyone waits longer than they want to. Only when the group is certain do they approach. The mood changes from fear to work. People gather broken spear shafts. Others mark the place. Some watch the horizon in case scavengers arrive. The youngest hunter who dropped his spear earlier finds it half buried in mud and pretends that was part of the plan. Then comes the other enormous problem. A mammoth is too big. You cannot carry it like a deer. You cannot waste much of it either. The group needs stone blades, fire, containers, ropes, sledges, and many hands. Processing the animal can take hours or days, and the longer it takes, the more the smell calls other mouths from the landscape. The food reward is hard to imagine from a modern kitchen. Meat can be roasted, dried, smoked, shared, and cached. Fat is energy-dense and precious. Bones become supports, tools, and fuel where wood is scarce. Hide can cover shelters. Tusks and teeth become raw material. A single successful hunt can change the group's future for a season. But it also teaches the lesson that keeps people alive next time. The story everyone remembers is not just, "We got the mammoth." It is where the mud held. Which wind betrayed them? Which shout moved the herd too fast? Which spear broke? Which person froze? Which person pulled a friend away in time? That memory becomes technology. Not metal, not machines, shared knowledge. Better routes, better timing. Better warnings for children who are still too small to understand why the adults go quiet when tracks appear in wet ground. So if you had to hunt a mammoth with ancient humans, your biggest problem would not be throwing one perfect spear. Your biggest problem would be surviving long enough for the whole plan to work. Because ancient survival was not brute strength against a giant animal. It was patience, fear control, tracking, weather sense, teamwork, and the painful wisdom to quit when the landscape said no. The mammoth was enormous. But the real weapon was everyone thinking together.